Morning guys, my name's Martin, I'm from ChristChurch in Howsham. Just thought today that we'll just have a kind of a DIY of an olive bread today. I'm going to make a focaccia loaf, which is an Italian loaf, very aromatic. You can have it with salads or accompaniments with a dip and some olives, or just have it as a sandwich, and I'll show you a bit later on in the video on how you do that. So today, if you want to move in a bit closer, you'll need, for the recipe, you'll need 300 grams of bread flour. Make sure it's bread flour, not any other flour, okay? You need 6 grams of salt. Basically, I've got some rosemary in there, in my little cup, which we're going to sprinkle on the loaf a bit later on. You have got 200 millilitres, or 200 grams, it's exactly the same, of warm water, okay? And you've got 10 grams of olive oil. So what I'm going to do first of all, okay, and you've got a little bit of sugar here as well. So just to get your yeast, just to test your yeast, you need some yeast. I've just got a little 7-gram sachet here from a well-known supermarket. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to put the 3 grams of sugar. This is just to test your yeast is viable and live. So literally 3 grams of sugar in there. Add the water to the sugar. Okay. Add the oil to the water. And then just add your yeast. Okay. So what I'll do now is I'll just quickly get myself a fork. Just give that little fork, just give that little whisk. Okay. And what you want to see is it all starting to foam up. So basically the yeast are going to feed on the sugar, and that's what we're going to call, it's going to bloom, as in all the yeast in there are going to create carbon dioxide. It's all going to be frothy in the actual little container here in the jug, okay? So we just give that a little mix, okay? And then we set that aside for about 2 to 3 minutes, so you should see some action there. If you don't see any action, it means your yeast is dead, and you need to go out and buy some new yeast and live yeast. Always check the date on the packet or on the bottom of your kind of container of yeast to see if it's still in date. Okay, so we're going to let that aside at the moment. What you're going to do now to your 200 grams of flour, 300 grams of flour, you're going to add your salt to one side, and that's all we can do. So literally come back in about 2 to 3 minutes and I'll show you the results of the yeast. All right, see you later. Okay guys, welcome back. It's been about 2 to 3 minutes now. As you can see, the yeast on top of the oil there is started to bloom. All those little bubbles there, okay, which indicates that your yeast is live, basically, and you can go ahead and use it. Now, as you can see, to the last video there, just a minute ago, we've added the salt to the flour. What we're going to do now is just incorporate that into the flour. Just use anything. I'm using a special kind of a dough kind of spatula here, but you can use anything, a wooden spoon or anything, or a fork or a knife or whatever you want to do. Just incorporate the salt within the flour, okay? And what we're going to do now, we're going to put the wet ingredients into the dry. So we're going to pour all that in, okay? Set that aside, and then we're going to bring that all together, okay? So just incorporate all the wet with the dry. There we go. Make sure you get all the dry flour off. Should all come together in a minute. As you can see, it's quite sticky, this dough. It's not like a traditional English loaf, which has got about 60% water by volume. This is a higher ratio of that. This is about 70%. So when you've managed to bring it all together, just clean off all the dough there, set that aside. What we're going to do now, we're going to start kneading the bread. So what we do, just gather it all together, tip it out, set that aside. Okay, we'll just bring it together. Okay. what I'm going to do, because it's quite sticky as you can see on my hands here, we're going to adopt a French way of kneading. This is called a slap and stretch method. Normally the English way of doing it is to actually just push it away from you, stretch it, roll it back, gather it up in your hand, just doing it like that. So you're actually now basically working the dough here to perform gluten, okay, which is going to hold the gas that the yeast are going to produce. So as I say, we're going to show you the French way of actually doing it. So basically pick up the dough at the end here, and so it's just dangling down, and then what we do, we slam it down. As it says, it's a slap and stretch, so we just slap it down, stretch it towards me, flip it over, okay, pick it up at the end, stretch, over, stretch, flip, over, slap, stretch, over, and just keep doing that, okay. So it's down, slap, stretch, over. We do this for about 8 to 10 minutes, okay. So if you want to see that in greater detail there in a minute, let me just get that. So basically, the end of the dough, pick it up, so you're slapping it down to the table, it's sticking. You then stretch it towards you, then you flip it over. Okay, you're trapping air as well inside the dough there every time you flip it over, incorporating air. This is basically what a mixer would do. It's basically you're developing the strands of gluten within the dough. Okay, this is all the kneading. This is probably one of the most important jobs, and normally you would do this probably for about 8 to 10 minutes. I'll see you in about 8 to 10 minutes. Yeah. Right guys, welcome back. It's been probably about 8-9 minutes now, and as you can see, if you want to move in, the dough now, instead of what we call a shaggy dough, it's got some life in it, it's got elasticity. There's basically, I've now developed those gluten strands within the dough, and as you can see, basically I'm stretching the dough here, and you should be able to see that it will stretch without breaking. Okay, so you're developing all the strands. Okay, so that's what's going to hold the gas that's going to be produced by the yeast, which is a bacteria, as they feed upon the sugars within in the flour. Okay, so what we do now, we're just going to roll this up. Easiest way of rolling this up is if you use the palm side of your hands here, left and right. Okay, so you've got your piece of dough, one under either side, and you just go underneath the dough, and so you go opposite sides, and as you can see in the middle there, you're tightening up the dough, okay, to a nice little ball. That's the easiest way of doing it. I could share the baker's way, but it's quite difficult. So this is the easiest way. So just with the left and right hand, opposite ways, get right underneath it and pinch it. Pinch that dough, okay, till it forms a nice tight skin. And you can see, I've got a little air bubble there. So that's the life already being produced within the dough by the yeast. What we're going to do now is get a little glug of olive oil. Just put that at the bottom of our bowl again that we put all the ingredients together. Okay, and we're going to plop this in there. I'm going to cover it with a bit of cling film. Okay, over the top. And that. Make sure it's all covered up so no air can get to it, because you don't want it to get any air to it and form a skin on the dough. You want it nice and supple. That's going to now prove, it's about 12:05, so probably about 1:05 to 1:15, we're going to come back. That should have doubled in size, and then we'll take it to the next stage. See you later. Welcome back guys. It's been now about an hour. As you can see, I'm just going to take the cling film off the bowl. As you can see, it's risen probably about two and a bit times its normal size. So what we're going to do now, we've got a 9-inch cake tin that obviously you probably have lying around at home. And we're going to put a couple of tablespoons-ish into the cake tin and just work that around in the bottom of the tin and up the sides. Okay, so this is why that prevents the bread from sticking. Okay, so we'll just do that very quickly. Right, and all we're going to do now is we're going to transfer this dough into the tin. Okay, so it's easy, since I've greased it, it's literally moving, so it's easy to manipulate. You don't really want to degas that too much, so just lift it out, plop it down, and then just tease it to the edges of the tin. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to dip it with our fingers, so get a little bit of olive oil into the bowl, just a little bit, and then just using your fingers. This is the signature of a focaccia, little pockets, okay, where you stick your fingers in, and so we're just going to use our fingers, just making little dimples in the dough. Okay. Okay. Right, so you just dimpled the dough there. Okay. And what we're going to do now, we're going to put our toppings on. Now it's a range of toppings. If you've got fresh rosemary, okay, you can use fresh rosemary. I've just taken the leaves off of there. I normally use this salt. This is a sea salt, which is flaky, which is a flake salt. I normally sprinkle that on top as well. If you haven't got fresh rosemary, you can use, just in the cupboard there, you could just use some mixed herbs or some Italian seasoning. You can go some garlic if you want a garlic one, just to brush some garlic paste over that. You can also put cherry tomatoes. You can do some onions, some caramelized onions, but obviously cook those before you actually put them on top of the dough. Likewise, yeah, there's you can do mushrooms. Again, cook the mushrooms and put them on. So there's loads of different toppings you can put on there. Today I'm just going to do a rosemary and sea salt. So what we're going to do, we're just going to give this a little glug of olive oil. And what happens here, since we've made all these beautiful holes with our fingers, all that lovely oil is going to go into those little pockets that we've made with our fingers. Okay. Probably about a couple of tablespoons of oil there. And then basically what we're going to do, we're going to sprinkle our rosemary across the loaf. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't matter where it goes. Okay. There we go. Just put that in there, squish that in there with your fingers, get all messy, doesn't matter. Okay. And that's what we're going to do. Put a little bit more in there, so chuck that on there. Right, okay, just a good pinch of this granulated salt, just all the way around the loaf like that. Okay. Probably about teaspoon and a half of salt on the top of there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to recover that for about another half an hour, okay, for it to rise back up again, and literally then we can set the oven and pop it in the oven to bake it about, it normally gets baked about 450 degrees, which is about 220 Fahrenheit, in the oven for probably about 20 to 24 minutes, depending on your oven, till it's a nice golden brown on top. Okay guys, I'll see you in half an hour's time. Okay. Welcome back guys. It's been about 25 minutes ish. Due to the warmness of the day, it's probably about 23-24 degrees, so it's quite warm, so your doughs are going to obviously rise that much quicker, so just keep an eye on them so the times might be shortened. We're obviously going to take the cling film off this now, off our little cake pan. As you can see, the dough once again has risen. Okay, we're now going to pop that into the oven that we've already set up. I forgot to mention that probably about 10 or 15 minutes before the dough in the pan is to go into the oven. Set your oven up, so you want 450 degrees. I think in Celsius that's about 230 degrees Celsius, and on a gas oven that's about a gas mark 8. Right, so we're going to pop this in the oven now, in the middle of the oven. You don't have any steam or anything, because obviously it's got a lot of moisture on there with the olive oil. And we're going to bake that between 20 to 25 minutes, depending on your oven. So just set your oven for, if you've got an alarm on your oven, probably for about 20 minutes, and have a look to see what it's like. If it's a nice golden brown, then take it out. As I say, many ovens, all ovens are very different, so that's where it varies. So we're going to pop this into the oven now. Stick it in there. Ooh. Right. Set my time for about 20 minutes. Press the time. I'll see you in about 20 minutes. Welcome back, guys. As you can hear, my alarm's gone now, so it's probably had about 20. I've given it an extra 2 minutes. So we're going to just take the bread out now. Oh, be careful. There we go. Switch the oven off. As you can see, look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to put it onto here. Now, I'm quite fortunate. I've got a spring loaded pan here, so I can just spring that open. I'm just going to lift that out. There we go. There we go, guys. One focaccia. Just give it a little drizzle with a bit of olive oil on top. There we go. There we go. One focaccia. Any problems, anything, just PM me or message me, and just I'll be able to kind of help you in anything you're stuck with. But that's it for today. Cheers then, guys. Bye.